Hi everyone, Aaron here for Zollotech, and these are Apple's official silicone cases for the iPhone 13 Pro. And you may have already noticed that it says Pro this year, where last year it said 12 and 12 Pro. These are official for the 13 Pro. The 13 has a smaller cutout for the camera. So these will probably fit those new devices, but we don't know until I get some in hand. But we'll try them on the 12 Pro, see how they fit with this device, see how it compares, and also see if the magnets are any stronger for things like the wallet. This is last year's Apple Wallet case. So we'll go ahead and check that out in a moment. But the first thing is the price. Last year, they raised the price to $49, and they've kept that same price for this year's phones. So for any of the iPhone 13 or 13 Pro silicone or clear cases, it's $49. So it's the same price across all of them. The leather case is a little bit more. Now, as far as the new colors, the top row here is all of the new colors. The bottom row is pretty much the older colors along with the clear case. So from left to right, we have marigold, then we have clover, then chalk pink, abyss blue, pink pomelo, and blue jay. We also have midnight red in its product red, as well as clear. So this is all of the different cases they're launching alongside iPhone 13, 13 mini, 13 Pro, and 13 Pro Max as far as the overall colors. Of course, you'll need to pick up a case for each device a little bit differently based off that camera bump. Now let's go ahead and open some up. We'll open this one, take a closer look, and then I'll open the other ones quickly. So you can see this is the marigold color. You can see it here. It's marigold. Let's take the little sticker off the back, or the little pull tab here, and let's see what we get. I don't think it's going to be any different than last year, but here's the case. Inside, we just have a little warranty or information card, nothing more than that. And then we have the case itself. Last year, these had a little plastic wrapper on it. Apple's reducing plastic this year, I think, so it made sense not to keep that on there. I'm not sure why they had that before anyway. So you can see here is the iPhone 13 Pro case. You can see that camera cutout is quite large. And compared to the 12 Pro case, you can see it here. So you'll see here that the camera cutout is quite large compared to that of the iPhone 12 and 12 Pro. So it's a very large opening. Now, I would imagine this will fit the 13, but the 13 Pro has the larger camera cutout, like I said. Also, something different here than last year, as you can see, we have this little raised ridge. If I turn it to the side, you can see there's a ridge on the 13 Pro case, where on the 12 Pro case, it had a little plastic surround. We don't have that anymore. We have a raised ridge. So it is a little bit different than previous years. Now, as far as power button placement, you'll see that on the 13 Pro, they've moved the power button down a little bit. So that means the 13 Pro or the 13 cases may not work with your older phones, 12 and 12 Pro. On the other side, we have the same sort of setup. They've moved the volume and silent switch down as well compared to last year's model. So they've moved that down. On the top, there's nothing really there. And then on the bottom, you can see that you've got the same openings for Lightning, your speaker, and microphone. So all of that is pretty much the same, but I'm surprised that the actual buttons are moved down and we have that little bump. So that camera bump may protrude quite a bit compared to last year. However, they should be a big jump in camera performance. Now inside, it's got the same sort of layout, but instead of having this sort of plastic ring around here where the MagSafe connector is, you've got sort of two drawn out or cut out pieces of fabric. So you can see those rings here where the MagSafe magnets are. There's not really any other differences other than that, but you can see it is slightly different. Maybe they're reducing plastic. Now, if we take a look at the magnets, let's look at those a little bit closer. So I'll put these down. And again, on the left is the 12 Pro case. So here are the magnets for the 12 Pro. And if we slide over, let me turn this, you can see the magnets are basically the same. So you've got similar magnet rings. I wouldn't expect it to have much of a difference there. You've got the same sort of magnetic field, and this magnet paper is really helpful to see where the magnets are. And again, on the inside, you can see that as well. Now let's go ahead and open the rest of them, and then we'll take a closer look at how they fit on the previous generation iPhone and the model that I have as well of the iPhone 13 series. So we'll open all of these up. This is the clover color, like I said before. And again, no plastic wrapper on it. So this is pretty nice. Just sort of a nice green color we haven't seen before. There's some similar colors, but it's a little different. Put that aside. Then we'll move over to the chalk pink. And this will go nicely with the new pink iPhone 13, but the 13 Pro doesn't come in pink, but maybe it will go nicely with silver or gold. Next is Abyss Blue. So this is a nice color. I actually have a watch band that has a similar color to it. So it's a nice deep blue color. It's really nice looking. Next is Pink Pomelo, and you can see that here. So it's a little different color pink, although it's more of a in between pink and mango maybe. I guess it's more of a pink or maybe even a grapefruit color. So it's got a nice look to it also. And then we have Blue Jay. So this is another blue color as well. So if you don't like the deeper blue, you have more of a lighter blue. And so you can see this here. It looks pretty good. And then the black case, Apple calls Midnight. So we'll open this up, pull this one out, take a look at it. And I didn't realize there was a difference between the 13 and 13 Pro until I got back and picked these cases up. So maybe I'll pick up a different one just to compare later on. And then we also have red here as well, product red, typical every year. We have a new red color. So that's product red. And then finally, we have the clear case. Now, I know this is expensive for a clear case. However, they typically hold up pretty well and they tend not to yellow. So that's something that you don't necessarily get from some less expensive cases, but they tend not to yellow. And you can see on the ring inside, it says made by Apple or designed by Apple in California. And then it's very typical of what we had before. It's sort of a flexible plastic. Maybe it would crack if you took this on and off your phone a lot, but you'll see it's basically what we had before. But again, they look nice because they don't typically yellow. Now here I have my iPhone 12 Pro. So I wanted to see what it would look like with maybe one of these cases on it. So if we place it on the 12 Pro, you'll see the camera cutout is quite different. And so on this phone actually has iOS 15 on it, but I cannot push the power button because it's nowhere to be found. It's kind of up a little bit higher. On the left here, you can see that it doesn't fit properly either because the silent switch is not in the same spot. So it doesn't fit on this phone properly at all. So that's definitely something a little bit different. And you can see that I would try it on all the different phones or try on many of the different cases to show you what it looks like. But again, on the clear case, just to give you an even better look at this, you can see where the power button is. So the power button is a little bit higher up there. And then on the sides, the silent switch is higher and the volume buttons are higher as well. The bottom is no different than before. So that's basically the same, but there is a little bit of play in here because the new phones are ever so slightly thicker. So that's something to keep in mind. So maybe it will fit the 13 model, but not the 13 or the 12 model. So let's see here, if we take the model that I have of the iPhone 13, this is for case makers. Let's see how it fits. So we'll use the clear case again. And you'll see in this case, it actually lines up as far as the power buttons go and the silent switch and the volume buttons. So that was correct as far as the model here. But again, the opening is much larger than the camera cutout for the non-Pro models. So this model was actually quite correct. And while this is not a working model of the iPhone 13, it does again give us an idea of the size of the camera bump. And it looks like they got it right. It's a huge camera bump. So once I get my hands on the iPhone 13 and 13 Pro, we'll be able to compare that. But you can definitely see the difference. And it's much larger than I would have suspected. So it's a huge camera bump this year. And hopefully that will lead to much better performance overall. Now, I did want to check the magnet strength, see if it's any different this year than, say, the previous generation. So I have the last generation case, and I also have the wallet case. This is the last generation wallet case that sticks on, but as you slide it in your pocket, you can easily push it off. So it doesn't take a lot of force to push this off of the back of your phone or the case. So let's try this. See if it's any different. It might be a little bit stronger magnets, but it's so slight if it is. I don't think it's much of a difference at all. Now the new wallet case may have a little bit more force to take off. Maybe it will. We don't really know until we try it out. The same should be true with MagSafe adapters. So the MagSafe adapter, if you're using that, again, will adhere to the back, no problem. but it doesn't feel any different than previous generation cases. So I don't think they've changed the magnets at all. It feels about the same. So I was quite surprised to see the volume buttons and power sleep wake button in such a different place. Everything else is basically the same year over year, but you will need a different case for the 13 versus the 13 Pro this year. So that was a bit of a surprise to me. I didn't even really recognize that until now. The same is true with the volume buttons being in a slightly different place as well. That was a bit surprising. So they've moved them down. They may be a little bit easier to access now. And again, the same is true with that power button. But let me know what you think of the new cases. Are you going to pick up Apple's cases, a different case, or do you use your phone without a case altogether? I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Of course, I'll link a wallpaper for you. And if you haven't subscribed already, please subscribe. And if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like. As always, thanks for watching. This is Aaron. I'll see you next time.